Welcome back to the Choose UCalgary Podcast. My name is Arista and I am your host for Season 9. Today we will be chatting with TJ, a manager in housing services here on campus, and Caitlyn, a UCalgary student in residence. We will talk about all things residence and on-campus housing. This includes our first-year residence guarantee, the community made, and the opportunities provided. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, and that the City of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Districts 5 and 6. The City of Calgary has always been my home, but I'm only a second-generation Canadian on my dad's side, reminding me of how thankful I am for being able to attend school, live, and work on the lands of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda Nations. Which reminds me how important it is to remember that everything done at the University of Calgary campus, including podcast recordings, starts with these lands. Please keep this in mind as you listen to this podcast. Did you guys want to get started by kind of introducing yourselves and a little bit about your role or even year in study and stuff like that?
Hello, so my name's Caitlyn Gilbert, and I'm a senior community ambassador at the University of Calgary, and I look over the graduate student building in Crow's Nest. And for my school, I am currently in my Master's of Cardiovascular and Respiratory Sciences at Foothills.
Awesome, thank you.
Cool. And my name is TJ Fedyk. I'm the manager for housing services with residents here at the University of Calgary. So my role, I oversee all the admissions, marketing, placement, communication to all the residents, and move-in day, the big one there. And I've been doing this for 18 years.
Wow, awesome. Thank you guys. What were kind of the key benefits to living on campus at UCalgary in terms of like convenience, student life, community, and how does that kind of help the transition to university, especially for students like not from Calgary that are maybe coming internationally and stuff?
Yeah, so I'd say one of the key benefits is like the convenience part. Like I know students and myself as well is you can roll out of bed like 10 minutes before class starts and still make it if you have to. So the commute, that's a big thing, is you don't have to have the hour on the train or the bus. So I'd say that is one of the main ones. And then the piece about like moving here, it's like you're moving out of home, but it's in like a safer space than just moving to an apartment. Like you're moving and you still have a support system. So it's like that halfway point between being on your own, but also having that support system with you. So it gives like a really good transition to students.
For sure, for sure.
It's really good for students who are living by themselves for the first time. We are that step to get them to being by themselves. So a lot of parents feel safe about that because they're moving on their own, but we are there to help them get to the next step. For first years, there are no kitchens. So they don't have to worry about cooking for themselves. So they can spend more time studying and socializing with that to help them. As well, we have the support of all the CAs to make sure things go well for them. And especially for first years, you are guaranteed your first year in residence. So you don't have to be worried about stressing about finding anywhere in the city of Calgary to live or anything like that. We will, as long as you apply before May 1st, you will have a space for us to live for your first year at the university.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. It definitely sounds like it's an awesome opportunity for students, like especially coming abroad. That's like that one step to independence, but like you said, still having that support and like the community ambassadors and roommates and stuff like that to kind of help them as they're starting university for their first year. We have a couple different residence buildings on campus. What residence buildings are available for first year students that they typically will live in when they come here?
Yeah, so first year residents, the part of the guarantees, all first years are guaranteed at least a traditional double. So that is Kananaskis and Rundle Hall. So in there, traditional double is what you see in the movies. One room, 2 beds, 2 desks, 2 dressers. And then you share that with one roommate. Usually, some of them we do have a few singles in there. And then you share with your bathroom with about 20 other students in your wing. So there's 3 wings per floor. And then with that, there's 3 bathrooms per floor as well with that. So, and then from there, they can live in either international house, which is suite style residence. So they're doubles or singles. And in those ones, you get your own private room. But you have a roommate who lives next to you and you share the kitchenette area and a washroom. And then we also have Yamnuthka Hall, which are 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom suites. Again, in there you have your own bedroom, share with either 1 or 2 roommates who also have their own room with the kitchenette area and bathroom as well.
With kind of all those different kind of room options and stuff like that, do first year students get to choose their room, or what's kind of that process look like for kind of getting their room?
Yeah, so the process for that is all through the application. There's a step where they pick their number one preference. So if they either want a traditional double or they want a 3-bedroom Yamnuthka, 2-bedroom in iHouse or anything like that, they select that on their application. After May 1st, everyone that selects, say, Yamnuthka 3-bedroom are all put into a lottery. We have about 200 of those bed spaces. So we do a lottery. The first 200 people that win the lottery get that spot. Those, say you're number 250 on the lottery, you'll be placed number 50 on the wait list for one of those in case they open up throughout the year. And then you'll receive an offer for a traditional double room. Throughout the summer, people always change their minds, go to other institutions, or decide they don't want to live with us on campus anymore. So some spaces do open up. And as they open up, we will work through the wait list. But we don't guarantee that if you're on a wait list that you'll receive that room type. We only guarantee the traditional doubles.
So you talked a little bit about that first year residence guarantee as long as they apply before May 1st, you said. How does this benefit like international students specifically to help them kind of ease into life on campus and away from home and being in like a different city and country and stuff like that?
Well, the easiest part with that is because a lot of international students, they can't go and look at apartments or go searching for themselves because most apartments don't become available to rent until about August. And that's just too close for students when they're moving in. So at least with us, as long as they apply before May 1st, they're guaranteed they know they have a space. They know they have a safe spot. They know their rent. They can find their roommates beforehand. If they can't find a roommate specifically, we'll match them through our matching system to guarantee that they have a good spot to move into and feel safe and comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned that roommates process with like requesting a roommate. Do you do that in the application? And like, do you almost always get your request or how does that work?
So in the application, there is a roommate preference step. If you know someone specific that you want to live with, you just need to put in their username and you'll be placed together. It is highly recommended, though, not to live with a best friend. Live with an acquaintance or a friend, but not a best friend. Because by the end of the school year, you probably won't be best friends because you're doing everything together, including living with each other. If you don't know anyone you're living with, there's about 10 to 15 questions on the application. Sleeping habits, study habits, social habits, sharing, kind of things like that. And then in the system, you can go in, it's like a dating service. You go in and you're like, hey, I want to find a roommate. And that will pop your top 10 to 15 matches. You can look at their profile. And then after looking at their profile, you can message them through our system. So you don't see their email or anything like that. It just goes right through our system itself. And you can talk to each other if you realize that you want to live with each other. As long as you both have been sent the same room type offer. So if one of you, if you're both been sent Yamnuthka 3-bedroom and you want to be roommates, cool. But if one is sent a Yamnuthka 3-bedroom, one is a traditional double, we can't place you together because they have different room types. But other than that, we'll do our best to make sure you're with your roommate.
Yeah, awesome.
Correct me if I'm wrong, TJ, but if they wanted, like they really wanted to be roommates, the one person could go down to the double, right?
Correct.
They just can't go up to the,
Yeah, so if you, say the 3-bedroom, and the other roommate has a traditional double, we can always move you to the same, as long as whatever is guaranteed. So we guarantee the traditional double. So if both of you decide to move to the traditional double, we can make sure you live together for sure.
Did you fill out like the roommate like questionnaire thing, or did you have someone already in mind you were wanting to live with?
So I actually did the whole, like, filled out just like how TJ said it, and I did pick my roommate through the questionnaire, and it turned out amazing. And I will say that that is a very user-friendly, like, website to work on. And you also get given, like, nicknames, so it's, like, privacy, but I was, like, chatting with a bunch of people. Like you said, it was, like, online dating. Like, I was just, like, surveying, and you're just, like, going through, seeing who you, like, can vibe with and who you want to live with. Mm-hmm. But I will say with TJ as well, with, like, don't choose your best friend, I have lived in, like, the traditional doubles, and I've also been a community ambassador in the traditional doubles. And, like, the best friends, like, they just, like, you spend every second together, so it will, like, sometimes be a little iffy, but I found, like, I was with someone I never knew before, and it was amazing. Like, sometimes it's a little scary to come in with someone you've never met, but from all my experiences, they've become really good friends most of the time.
Because one good thing about that with their roommate matching service is that you can talk to each other before you move in. Mm-hmm. So you're able to find out who's going to bring what. You get some of them have, I talked to some students last year who had like date nights, like just by camera, just to talking with each other, like over phone, by video chat, just so they can get to know each other and hang out virtually. And then when they met each other in person, moving in the first day, they were totally comfortable with each other and felt like they were able to talk to each other and figure out their roommate agreements and how they're going to live together.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely sounds like a good way to kind of find a good match for being a roommate and not just somebody who is your best friend, because sometimes you don't You don't vibe with them is in the living together sense.
And then,
for sure.
Yeah, and one more part on that with, like, you'll, like, fill out 10 to 15 questions. One of my biggest tips is to be completely honest with yourself in that, because I've had some people be like, oh, nighttime, oh, I don't care, and all these things. There's, like, one main light in those rooms, so if one light goes on, if someone's a morning person and someone's a night owl, those are where clashes happen, so just be completely honest when you're filling those out so that you get someone that has, like, same habits as you.
Sure. The other thing about filling it out is make sure you fill it out yourself. A lot of parents fill out all these applications for their students because they think they know what's best and they understand their student, especially when it comes to the roommate profile. Parents think they know who their students are, but they do not. That's usually when we have the biggest issues, is when we find out that a parent has filled out an application of the roommate preferences for students, and that student can't find anyone to live with because they move in with them, and they're completely opposite of what that profile is. So that is for sure that the student has to fill out that profile question themselves.
Yeah, definitely would be a good benefit to fill it out yourself, for sure. With kind of that application process, how do students go about applying for residence?
So once the students have applied to the University of Calgary, they have to wait at least 5 days before they can apply to residence. So once the student receives their login information to the university IT account, they'll be able to use that information to log into their resident portal. So this is found on our website on the homepage. They click on that, they log in with their username from the university and their password, and it'll automatically bring them into our resident portal, which has applications and all information about residents. All their information will already be pre-populated from the university. Then they just select what application they want to apply for, and then just follow all the steps through there. Once the application is complete, they have to pay a $50 application fee, and that will finalize the application to make sure it's active. So the application is not active until it's paid, so it has to make sure by midnight on May 1st to guarantee that spot that $50 has been paid, and then they're guaranteed their spot.
With first-year residents specifically, I know if they're living on residence, they have to get a meal plan. What do these meal plans kind of look like, and like the cost associated with that, and why do they have to get a meal plan?
So with the meal plans, because we don't have kitchens really in first-year residence, and one of the other big things is that first-year students, they kind of need time to figure out university, to figure out schooling. University is so much different than high school. Exams, papers, midterms. So by having a meal plan, you can just get up and go straight to the landing, get whatever food you want, have lunch maybe what you don't have to worry about cooking, cleaning dishes, anything like that. It saves tons of time. So for first years, they can either get a 5-day all you care to eat or a 7-day all you care to eat plan. You just go in, swipe in, eat whatever you want. It's like a buffet. Whatever is open, then the food changes all the time in there. And it's really good food that we have.
It's very good. I had the full meal plan for 5 years, and I never got tired of it. Like, there's options for everybody. And also the all you can eat. Like, sometimes I'd have like a class and I'd run in there and just get like a piece of fruit and like a muffin and walk out for like, eat that and go out for my class. Like, it's nice just to be able to go in whenever. The hours are really great. And like, even if it's like off hours, like 3 o'clock, there's always a food option there. And I would say, like, me as a first year as well, not having to cook was amazing. Like, the stress of that, like I had friends that went to other universities that didn't have to have the meal plan, and they were very stressed with like meal prepping, like going to get your groceries, preparing the food, like all of that, and that stress was just taken away with having it mandatory.
For sure. You said that it's kind of always changing and stuff like that for like the food that's provided in like the landing. What kind of options do they have to meet like dietary needs and restrictions? And I know internationally students a lot of times have like different religious beliefs or holidays that they can't eat certain foods, or certain foods are restricted. What does that kind of look like for meal plans and stuff like that?
So with that, first of all, like, there's like halal options, and there's certain options that are available all the time that's very like easy to access, and there's such a variety that I've never had like students that like couldn't eat certain things. But like, let's say you have someone that's maybe celiac or has a very strong dietary restriction, they can meet one-on-one with the main chefs, and then they can come up with a meal plan that will suit them for the whole year. Like, they can come up with like, oh, what can you eat? They'll sit down, they'll make like recipes up and things like that. And I've had students that have done that, and it's worked really well. So the landing's very accommodating with like any dietary restrictions.
Chef Paul is great. He's able to help with anyone, willing to sit down and talk to every student or parent that has questions or concerns, figure out a meal plan for them, as well as, so we have about 1,300 first year students every year. So it's 1,300 meal plans that we have. every year we maybe have 1 or 2 students that they can't help due to very strict dietary restrictions or anything like that. So if there is a student that they believe they can't help or support, they will work with me and the housing team to find them alternative accommodations in residence, so they will have access to a kitchen so they can cook for themselves.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely a very useful option, but definitely sounds like the dining center has a lot of inclusive accommodations that they can make, and being able to sit down with the chef and stuff like that seems amazing. Are people able to like request specific foods or meals or anything like that?
Yeah, so I actually don't have the meal plan this year, so things might have changed slightly, but I know you can put in like Dino's Choice. So let's say you have a meal that like your mom made that you loved at home, you can like send the recipe in either through Instagram, or there's like paper boards that you can put them on, and the chefs will try their best to like recreate your home cooked meals. And I think it's like really fun for the students, because it's like if they're homesick and maybe they have a meal that they're like, mom used to cook all the time, it's just kind of like a comfort. So yeah, you can put in some like suggestions if you want that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's napkin talk.
Napkin talk. There you go. Yeah.
And so then, yeah, if you just grab a napkin, if you want to write something down, I want more kind of this rice, or I really like this soup, please bring it back, or this type of vegetable. Put on napkin talk. They go through that. You just put on the board when you leave. And then the chefs will look into it, see what they can do. And they'll always write back on the napkins and put it back up so you can see it a couple days later, see what the thoughts or ideas are. The Dino menu, like where you can submit your own recipes from your mother or dad, or like from your culture, anything like that. As well as they have a lot of theme nights every month. I know we have a World Food Day coming up in 2 weeks. One of the best desserts ever, sticky toffee pudding, is amazing. So that next Thursday, I know they're having that. So oh my goodness, it's the best dessert they have.
Yeah, that definitely sounds awesome though, to be able to like request meals and like send in that recipe, like especially for those like international students and students who maybe are coming from abroad that don't find a lot of their foods here and stuff like that, or easily accessible on campus anyway, can kind of get like a home cooked meal of something that maybe reminds them of home to help them. That would be amazing. Applications to live on residence open as of November 1st. If you are applying directly from high school and are 21 or younger, then you are guaranteed a place in residence for your first year. If you apply before May 1st, click the link in our show notes for more details. There's a lot of like social events that happen on residence and stuff like that, and like the community ambassadors kind of help those or like plan those. What do those kind of look like, and how is that meant to like build the community and help with that?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been a CA for 4 years now. So I was a traditional CA for the last 3 years. So I was one of the ones that planned all these events. But it changes every year a little bit. But each CA, like usually they're assigned to a floor, and they'll be responsible for hosting 1 to 2 events per month on that floor. And also we have different councils of CAs that will host like residence-wide events. Like once or twice a month there'll be a different event. But the one thing I'll say is there is always an event happening. I feel like I don't know if TJ sees them, always posters around. And we try to make the events like really diverse so that someone will find something they like there. But I find it a place where like residents just like get to know each other, especially in the first year buildings. Like if you see the setup of Can or Rundle, there's just like a bunch of wings where everyone lives, and then there's just this common lounge, and you'll come out there and there'll be like a paint night or a movie night or like a get to know each other friend bingo, and it's just ways that's like stress free, away from class, for just students to get to know each other.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I think we were doing stats on one of our training days, and last semester we hosted over 400 events residence-wide, just like everyone together, so there's always something to do. And I know like I did it as a CA, and a lot of my CAs do it as well, is they'll like put out surveys to the students of what events they want to see. And especially for some students that might be a little shy or reserved or like scared to come out, maybe if they get events that they want to do, it'll give them that extra push to come out and get involved.
For sure. It definitely seems like a really great way to kind of build that community. And then you said there were community ambassadors on every floor, and they're kind of a good contact point for like students on that floor if they need help or assistance with anything as well?
Yes, so at least one per every floor. Some buildings, if it's bigger, like Amnatica, there'll be like 2 CAs on a floor, but they live on the floor and they're their like first go-to point. Like I was a CA for first years for 3 years, and like we answer like anything. Like I've had people come up and be like, "How do you do laundry here? Like how do I load my laundry cart?" to like homesick to anything you can come up with. We're like their first point of contact, and it provides, like, I know it provides a lot of support to the residents, and I was also a first-year resident that went to my CA when I needed them. So yeah, we're just like the person they go to, and even if we can't figure it out, we're the step that's like, okay, let's go figure out together where you can get that help. So they always have support down the hall from them.
The good thing about this CAs are students, so they come in for 2 weeks of training every year before students move in. And do everything, training from roommate conflicts to event planning, study habits, anything to do that students might need help or support with. And so they know exactly what the students on their floor are going through and how to support them. And then every evening as well, so when our main office is closed, we always have community ambassadors on call every night, just in case something happens, or you might lock yourself out of your room by accident, or if there's a big party or something happening, they'll shut down because they want to make sure that students are able to sleep and relax and feel comfortable in their rooms. So they do a lot, and they're such a great resource for the students that live with us.
Yeah, that definitely sounds amazing as just like that general first contact point and just helping create that community and connections and stuff on campus. And you said you became a CA after your first year. What kind of does that look like? How do you kind of become a CA for anybody who might be interested in that?
Oh yeah, so we started, the applications open like every year for the next year in January, and the CAs will put posters up everywhere being like, here's a link to the QR code to apply, and then those students also have the opportunity to go talk to their CA, see if it would be the right fit, maybe get some advice. Then they submit an online like written application that is due usually sometime in January. And then through there's a process where they go through those applications. Then some people get selected for like in-person interviews. It changes up a little bit every year, but that's the general trend. And I would say it's always very competitive. There's always a lot of people that want to be CAs. So it's always a lot of fun and always to get like the new faces coming in. But yeah, we make sure like in residence to have it very well advertised. Like anyone that's living here or even not living here, like most people like find out about it.
One of the interesting things about that too is that even the RLCs, so the resident life coordinator, who is the boss of oversees the CAs, if they know students, they'll reach out to them and say, hey, applications are coming out. I think you'd be really good at this position. Or even like people that I've worked with or dealt with through move-in or other things I've seen throughout the fall term, I'll reach out to students and say, hey, maybe you should apply to be a CA. I think you really be good in this position. CAs do it as well too. One of the good things about it this year, applications just closed for next year. We've had over 400 applications. So a lot of students are excited. They want to be CAs and they want to be there to help and support the next incoming students.
Yeah, it's definitely a great way to kind of take advantage of like a leadership opportunity within like their own living quarters without having to kind of go out searching, because like UCalgary has so many opportunities with clubs and stuff. So it's awesome that they can find one so easily within their own residence building and just from being on residence for their first year and stuff like that, and then going forward with that.
I've done it for 4 years and I've loved the role. It's been so much fun. I love helping students, and a lot of it too is we're there to help students, but it's also fun just getting to know students and just being a like person in the community that can just show them things. We're always the rule enforcers, but also we're students too. We can give them just advice on how to be a student. I've had that so many times where I'm like, when you were first year, how did you do this? And this is how I did it. So it's just fun to be in that position.
The other thing about if you want to become a CA and things like that, businesses and bosses, when you're applying for jobs, see CAs on their community ambassador, and they understand how much training and everything you've been with. So it is a great thing to have on your application when you go into the workforce to look for a job.
Yeah, for sure. You said that you were a community ambassador for first years for a while there as well. But have either of you gotten any like really common questions from first years like throughout the year or before like classes started or anything like that?
I get a lot of questions at the start of like, can you do a tour for me? I can't find my classes. Or like, there's the like My UCalgary portal where they like sign up for their classes. And like we said, go back to with parents, a lot of the parents will like apply for all their classes and everything, so they don't know how to use the website. So there's a lot of times of me sitting down with first years and just being like, this is how you actually drop a class, or this is how you add a class. So a lot of like those types of questions.
The biggest things on my side for first years that are reaching out is basically, how do I live with a roommate? I've never shared anything. I've always always had my own room, always had my own bathroom. How do I share? How do I live with someone else? And the biggest thing is you just have to be open and willing to talk. You can't shut yourself down. If you get angry or mad, you just keep building up that inside, it's going to come out at one point. So you have to be able to talk to your roommate about the problems or situations. And if you're afraid about that, reach out to your CA. Your CA can come and sit with you to figure out how you're going to work out this plan to talk with your roommate.
And like
for sure.
With that too, with like living with roommates, we have all first years are mandated to do a roommate agreement where they sit down and they're like, this is what I like to do here, and like everything is laid out on there. And there's a lot of times where I've sat down with both of them and just like help facilitate the conversation if someone's a little nervous, or just like give them little tips. I mean, like, this is a really important question here, make sure you go into detail about like how you want to share things, or like how you want to make sure the cleaning schedule is. So
yeah, definitely roommate agreement would definitely be useful for that. I just have one more question. Do you have like a favorite memory or favorite experience that you had?
One of the best things from last year that I remember was the first snowfall. It happened during the day here on campus, and all the international students who've never seen snow before were outside playing in the snow, having snowball fights, making snowmen. There were some on the ground doing like snow angels, and it was one of the coolest things that I've seen, because normally when we get the big snowfalls, it's at night.
mm-hmm.
But this last year, it was during the day, and there were so many students outside just enjoying and loving the snow. It was so cool.
That would be amazing to
Yeah.
see, actually. That would be so cool. If you guys had any last notes you wanted to share, or any tips for students looking at UCalgary or looking at residence for next year or anything like that?
I kind of think the biggest thing is don't hold off on applying for residence.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to forget. Once we hit May 1st, like May 1st at May 2nd at 12:01 a.m., the applications are still open, but you're not guaranteed that spot anymore. We fill up with that first set of applications. So if you are a minute late, you will be on the wait list, and we don't guarantee that you'll receive a spot before the academic school year starts. So use that guarantee. Get that application as soon as you can. It's $50. Even if you're not too sure you're coming or not, just get that in. If you have questions or concerns or anything, you can contact the Campus Service Center. They're able to answer any questions that you have about the applications.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and I'll definitely include the Campus Service Center contact information in the notes for this podcast as well, so that they can access that easily.
Yeah.
And then if I had any more advice, I think for first years once they come in, is we have like a welcome week and we have events and stuff right at the beginning when they move in. And like my biggest piece of advice is put yourself out there, go to everything you can in those first few weeks. Like that's the time where there's so many people out, everyone's like getting to know each other, and that's where you can make some of like your core friends, or find clubs, or like see if you want to be a CA, or like just all these things. It's like it can be overwhelming a lot. Like you just maybe like move to a new city, you don't really know what you're doing, but try your best. Just go out there and see what you can find, because that's like, I'd say the first couple weeks is the most crucial part of just getting settled at UCalgary.
Yeah, for sure.
On top of that, I'd say move in on move-in day.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, August 24th, 2025. Be there for move-in day. There's events happening all that week, that day. And it's the best way to meet friends, meet everyone on your floor. And for the first month, if you're living in residence, don't go home. Don't go home on the weekends. That's when a lot of events are happening, and that's when a lot of the friendships are made. So make sure you stay here for, at least for the first 3 to 4 weeks straight through, because that's when all the events and activities are happening.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Season 9 of the Choose UCalgary podcast. Remember to follow us on Instagram at choose.ucalgary and Facebook at UCalgaryFS to stay up to date on all things UCalgary for future students. DM if you have any questions, and stay tuned for the next episode.